Parfait. Alright, everyone. Today we're gonna react to a video from J0J0Jetz. It's called New versus Old Zelda. So let's not waste time and get right into it.
Zelda has changed recently. Well, recently being 7 years ago. But why did this change happen? And more importantly, how did this change happen?
How dare you?
One integral aspect to this change was in 2013, when Nintendo set out to rethink the conventions of Zelda. Series producer Eiji Aonuma stated this philosophy entailed getting away from completing dungeons in a certain order and playing by yourself. By this point, Aonuma had established a very strong repertoire of Zelda games under his belt, and grew tired of the traditional Zelda formula. In fact, a margin of dedicated Zelda fans held his sentiment at the time. I mean, this video by Egoraptor, which scrutinizes the then monotonous Zelda.
I just want to say that I'm not tired of the Zelda, the old Zelda formula. Like, the new open world formula is kind of boring to me. I hate that it's like really repetitive. It's repetitive, and like the dungeons that like they have less charm than before. That's a like, let's say I play Skyrim. It's a great game, but I kind of get bored of doing the same cave over and over again. Like, it's, you know, I get lost. I preferred the linear one before.
Formula has over 13 million views.
Zelda experience, but instead you led Zelda into a frustrating monotony. You know, what started the franchise was like the sense of wonder, and what is this far?
I'll just let you watch the video because it does sum up Zelda fans' thoughts at the time, but how exactly was Nintendo going to change the formula? Well, in their own words, the Zelda team's goal was to capture the essence of Zelda, aka Zelda 1, and just Zelda 1. This would mean an indirect reboot of the franchise, but before committing to this radical change, they tested a few convention-breaking ideas in A Link Between Worlds released later in 2013. In this experiment, they actually achieved their initial goal of tackling dungeons out of order, much to the satisfaction of die-hard fans at the time. Now it was time to stop experimenting and commit to making a title that not only shakes the core of the series, but gaming in general. And with the series that has never had any truly bad games, everybody waited in anticipation for the next Zelda.
Boy, this piece is what all true.
I'm sorry, but Zelda 2 is kind of bad. And I played it. And I'm kind of old, you know? It's fun, but like the overworld is really, like, the design of the overworld is horrendous. Like, the action gameplay is fine. Like, it's tolerable. But man, that overworld is just, nope, that's not it. Is it a bad game though? Like, I'll give it a pass. It's not a bad game, but yeah. It's not great.
Warriors strive for.
All eyes were on the Zelda team, which now consisted of a largely young group this time, and the game had finally been given a proper title, Breath of the Wild. I think it's important to note that, with the exception of Twilight Princess, the Zelda series sales were dwindling since the release of Ocarina of Time leading up to Breath of the Wild. This game had to pull through and sell well. Zelda's sales trajectory was similar to that of Metroid, and as of this video, Metroid hasn't received a true 3D game in 15 years as a result. Breath of the Wild was abandoning almost every aspect of the formula, yet not following the trends of modern gaming. It was boom or bust.
I agree that it
Generally,
needed a
Nintendo
refresh.
likes to beat out their best-selling game, something Majora and Wind Waker failed to do. Then there's the new king, Twilight.
But Skyward Sword, like, I would, it's an hypothesis. Like, I would say it didn't sell because of the goddamn Wiimote gimmick. Like, nobody likes that. Everybody wanted to play Zelda with a controller, man. Telling you.
Twilight Princess and the crown Breath of the Wild would try to take. For Skyward Sword. The numbers start coming in. Breath of the Wild sells more than the previous 5 mainline games combined, selling 33 million copies.
It's
Old
impressive.
Zelda was dead. Fans and critics fell in love with the new Zelda, and for the first time ever, Zelda beat a Super Mario game in sales on its respective console. 6 years later, in 2023, Nintendo doubles down on this new formula and releases Tears of the Kingdom to more critical and commercial acclaim. So, now that the open-air adventure genre has been mastered, there's absolutely no reason to go back to old Zelda, right? This is exactly what fans wanted, an open world where you can go anywhere at any time, even the final boss. Oppose this to old Zelda, where every area of the game is walled off until you complete tasks the game tells you to do. I mean, it's archaic, right? What purpose did that even serve?
Like a lot of time, yes, you can see them as tasked, but that's also it's like it's a world building, and a lot of time there are puzzles. You need to figure out a way to get through the gate, a way to progress in the game. It's all about problem solving a lot.
Even Aonuma himself recently stated he doesn't understand why you would want to go back to a type of game where you're more limited. 7 years of the open-air formula have already passed. How is the fanbase feeling about this new direction, though?
It's a new fan base a lot. The older fan base was kind of we weren't
On
dying.
a poll
So
recently conducted by IGN, they asked Zelda fans if the series should return to the more traditional format. With the open-air Zelda fans now vastly outnumbering older fans, I expected a radically different result than this.
ouch.
To ensure the poll didn't have
That's
a
weird.
biased sampling, I asked a similar question to the smartest people on Earth, my viewers. Keep in mind, an extensive majority of my viewers have only played open-air Zelda, yet a slight majority want the next Zelda to be more like Twilight Princess rather than Tears of the Kingdom. At first, these polls confused me, but then I realized why people felt this way.
It's the gimmicks.
Zelda innovates with practically every new entry, using the base formula as a platform to launch these usually great ideas. But sometimes an innovation can be so ambitious and time-consuming for the developers, the base formula takes a back seat for the game, and this innovation can unfortunately be relegated to a gimmick. Though not a gimmick, the Fuse and Ultra Hand abilities in Tears of the Kingdom took up such an extensive amount of development time, they couldn't really focus on making any significant changes from Breath of the Wild, and I think this is where the concern for Zelda's direction factors in the previous poll's results.
Like I didn't even play the last Zelda, Breath of the Wild or Tears of Kingdom. Like I know that it's sacrilegious to react and give my opinion on Zelda, but I've played all the other console Zelda, and I'm a big fan of the structure of the games, like the linear, like every dungeon is very unique, and the puzzle solving is great. And when I saw Tears of Kingdom, it's like the gimmick, man. It reminded me of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. You know, nobody wants to touch that game with a 6-foot pole. You know, that's just the kind of vibe that this game gave me, and I'm just like, man, I'm gotta steer away again from Zelda. Makes me kind of sad. And that's why people are saying, yeah, Twilight Princess, you know, it's very good. It's very good, but even then, you know, the wolf, I didn't really care about the wolf transformation. I just want to play as Link with a ton like of items, you know, the bow, the hook shot, the whatever item he has in his arsenal, and just complete the puzzle, kill the boss with that item, figure out, you know. But I didn't play Tears of Kingdom, but that's just the vibe it gives me, so I don't want to pay for it, you know?
Many were upset with how similar Tears of the Kingdom was to Breath of the Wild. So similar, in fact, it used the exact same storytelling beats, characters, progression system, weapons, outfits, and even the exact same overworld. It's kind of crazy. I think it's also the reason why Tears of the Kingdom poses the second lowest Metacritic user score of all mainline home console Zelda games, the lowest being Skyward Sword, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Both Skyward and Tears simplified the base formula they were building on in order to make room for their respective innovations, with the result.
I'm just gonna say, man, you don't mess with Link's sword, you know? You don't mess with his sword. You don't mess with his goddamn sword. Just keep it as it is. You wanna add a gimmick? Don't put it in the sword, okay?
Results featuring accessibility issues that can make or break the game for people. These novelties came with a fairly strong learning curve, and even after mastering it, the results can still be finicky. You can actually bypass building completely in
Even though I
Tears
kind
with
of
the
enjoyed
hoverbike,
Skyward Sword, but man,
but this nullifies the whole point of, well, the entire game. So, what is the solution going forward? I personally think everyone would like to see new and old Zelda uniting formulas so that new Zelda doesn't become too stale. We already know new Zelda allows you to explore any part of the overworld at any time. Old Zelda would initially throw you into this open world, but gate off further areas until you acquired certain items, abilities, or progression checks. This was an intuitive system because it let design story, characters, and complex puzzle design shine while also giving you freedom within the area.
I agree.
Contrary to Aonuma's recent statements, there's nothing inherently bad about this design. In fact,
like it's also the design. This design, what it makes, it gives you like a feeling of like figuring out things. You know, you're like you see something blocking the road, and then you find an item, and you're like, oh, I get it. I can finally go there, and you're like eager and you're hyped to go and unlock that new place. It's the new place to discover. It's not like just given to you. So that's another advantage of that design.
it gives the developers freedom to create design challenges in a pseudo-Metroidvania style. The marriage I think hardcore Zelda fans are looking for would be having access to all of this open world, but perhaps there are some areas that are significantly more difficult rather than impossible to navigate. There could be barren cliffs that require frame-perfect inputs to navigate unless you have a hookshot. These are just examples, but ultimately I feel Zelda needs to change again because I would hate for the series to experience the same stagnation felt with the previous formula. Ironically though, it looks like the franchise needs old Zelda to feel fresh again. Big shout out to Abadab, EJ44, Spicoli75, The Fifth Tier, Dylan Yuhi, P-Chan, Omega Man 87272, Minty.
Great video. Yes, you know what I would like to see is a Zelda game in the optic of the first Zelda, where yes, there's a lot of open areas that you can access early on in the game, make it difficult, but also like I like that sense of progression. Like I'm a big Super Metroid fan, and I really like being stuck on a wall or not being able to access a part of the game and being just finding an item and like clicking in my head like, oh, okay, now I can go there. You know, that's very satisfying. It picks up from all those Metroidvania games and a lot of games in general. But like I said, I can't speak bad about Breath of the Wild because I don't know how much these games have those elements or not, so whatever. But also, they gotta be careful with the gimmicks and the big gripes that I have with like let's say the Nintendo 64 games and even a little bit of Wind Waker and stuff, it's the end holding. Like it's kind of obnoxious, you know, especially when you want to do replays of the game. Like you should, like in the future, if they want to have a companion that gives you hint, like make it less annoying, okay? Make it more convenient, just more fluid. So yeah, that's it. Great video, J0J0Jetz, if I can remember. I'm gonna link the original video and go give him a like. I appreciate the work he's done, the montage and everything. It was great. So like, yeah, see ya guys.